Imagine it's 3 a.m. The sirens are blaring and the world as you know it is dissolving into chaos. You have exactly 30 seconds to grab one suitcase and leave forever. On your table sit two choices, 1 kilogram of gold or 75 kilograms of silver. Both are worth the same fortune today, but one of these choices will buy your freedom while the other will become the anchor that sinks you. Don't answer yet, because this single decision is the difference between survival and total loss. We've all heard the saying, silver is the poor man's gold. It sounds noble, doesn't it? It suggests that silver is the accessible metal, the one for the everyday person. But in a high-stakes escape, that very accessibility can become your literal ball and chain. Let's look at the cold, hard numbers of the gold to silver ratio. As of right now, that ratio sits at roughly 85 to 1. That means for every single ounce of gold you own, you need 85 ounces of silver to match its value. Now let's translate that into a real-world scenario. Imagine you've managed to save up $75,000, a life-changing sum in a crisis. If you hold that wealth in gold, you're looking at roughly 32 ounces. In physical terms, that is about 2 standard gold bars that can easily fit into the palm of your hand or the pocket of a light jacket. It weighs just over 1 kilogram. You can run with it, you can climb with it, you can hide it in a split second. But what if that $75,000 is in silver? To equal that same $75,000, you would need over 2,700 ounces of silver. That is approximately 84 kilograms or 185 pounds. Stop and think about that for a second. 84 kilograms is more than the weight of an average adult man. You aren't grabbing that suitcase, you're dragging it. You aren't slipping through a crowd unnoticed. You're struggling with a heavy-duty dolly, sweating and announcing to every predator in the area that you are carrying something incredibly heavy and therefore incredibly valuable. This brings us to the core concept of value density. In physics, density is mass per unit volume. In survival finance, value density is wealth per unit of burden. Gold is the king of value density. It allows you to condense an entire lifetime of labor into a space no larger than a smartphone. Silver, despite its beauty and its history, is diluted wealth. Why does this matter? Because logistics win wars, and logistics save lives. If you are forced to evacuate due to a natural disaster, civil unrest, or a sudden currency collapse, your mobility is your greatest asset. If your wealth is too heavy to move, you don't own your wealth owns you. You become a stationary target, anchored to a specific location because you simply cannot carry your savings on your back. History is littered with stories of refugees who survived because they could sew a few gold coins into the lining of their coats. You cannot sew 80 pounds of silver into a coat. Does this mean silver is useless? Absolutely not, but it means we have to stop looking at them as interchangeable. They serve two completely different strategic purposes. Gold is your exit strategy. It is your portable insurance policy that guarantees you can start over anywhere in the world, no matter how far you have to travel. So if you've been stacking silver exclusively because it feels cheaper to buy, you might be walking into a weight trap. You are accumulating mass, but are you accumulating mobility? But wait, before you go out and trade all your silver for gold, there's a massive flip side to this coin. Because while gold is great for moving across borders, it has one fatal flaw when you actually arrive at your destination and need to buy a loaf of bread. And that's exactly what we're going to break down in the next section, why your light gold might be too heavy to spend. But weight is only half the story. In a survival situation, the most dangerous thing you can carry isn't a heavy bag, it's a target on your back. The ultimate question of physical assets isn't just how much you own, but whether anyone else knows you own it. This is where we talk about the power of silence. When you stack silver, you're stacking volume. To have a significant amount of wealth in silver, You need boxes, you need floor space, you need reinforced shelving. If you're moving that wealth, you need a truck. Every time you move a monster box of silver, it clinks, it rattles, it makes a distinct metallic sound that is impossible to ignore. In a world of quiet desperation, that sound is a dinner bell for anyone nearby. Gold, on the other hand, is the master of stealth. Because of its extreme value density, gold can be hidden in places silver can never go. You can tuck $50,000 worth of gold into the hollow leg of a table, inside a curtain rod, or even behind a wall socket. It takes up virtually no space. If you're passing through a checkpoint or a crowded terminal, a few gold coins hidden in a belt or a shoe will likely go unnoticed by casual observation. But silver? Try hiding 100 ounces of silver on your person. It's bulky, it's obvious, it ruins the silhouette of your clothing. It creates a physical profile that screams, "I am carrying something incredibly valuable." Then there's the technical side, detection.
While both metals are detectable by X-rays and high-end security scanners, gold's small physical footprint allows for creative shielding and concealment techniques that are physically impossible with silver. In a tactical sense, gold offers you the right to be invisible. It gives you the ability to move your life savings across a border or through a dangerous neighborhood without looking like a person who is carrying a life savings. We also have to consider the noise of storage. If you live in an apartment or a shared space, silver is hard to hide from prying eyes. A delivery of several heavy boxes from a bullion dealer is hard to explain to a curious neighbor. A small padded envelope containing a few gold sovereigns? It looks like a book or a spare part. The silence of gold is your greatest security feature. It reduces the counterparty risk of human nature. You don't have to worry about a neighbor's greed or a thief's opportunism if there is nothing visible or audible to trigger it. Think of it this way. Silver is like a loud, powerful engine. It gets the job done, but everyone hears you coming from a mile away. Gold is the silent electric motor. It provides the same power, the same result, but it allows you to operate in the shadows. However, being invisible has its own set of problems. Stealth is great for protection, but it's terrible for negotiation. What happens when you actually want people to see your wealth? What happens when you need to buy a meal, pay for a ride, or tip a guard, and all you have is a gold coin worth $2,000? This is the change problem, and it's exactly why your stealthy gold might leave you starving in a room full of food. Let's look at why Bach, our loud and heavy friend, suddenly becomes the most important metal you can own when the lights go out. But here is the twist. Stealth and density are perfect for the journey. But what happens when you arrive? What happens when you're hungry and the grid is down or the local currency is turned into wallpaper? This is where gold's greatest strength, its massive value, becomes its ultimate liability. Think about it. You walk into a local market or approach a farmer. You need a dozen eggs, a gallon of milk, and maybe some fuel. The total value of what you need is perhaps $30 or $40. You reach into your pocket and pull out a 1-ounce gold eagle. At today's prices, that coin is worth over $2,500. Now ask yourself, is that farmer going to have $2,460 in change to give you? Of course not. And even if he did, would he want to part with all his small assets just to take one high-risk gold coin from a stranger? In that moment, you are forced into a terrible choice. You either overpay by $2,400 for a few groceries, or you go hungry while holding a fortune in your hand. This is the divisibility trap. This is exactly where silver, our loud and heavy friend, saves the day. Silver is the small change of a collapsed economy. While gold is for buying the farm, silver is for buying the seeds. In a survival scenario, a 90% silver dime or a Morgan dollar is the perfect unit of exchange. It's a spendable asset. You can trade one silver round for a tank of gas. You can trade a few silver dimes for a hot meal. You don't need a scale, you don't need a diamond saw to cut your gold bar into tiny pieces, and you don't need to find a millionaire just to get a loaf of bread. This creates a clear distinction in your strategy. Gold is for wealth preservation, silver is for utility. If you only have gold, you are rich poor. You have massive net worth, but zero liquidity for daily life. You're like someone trying to buy a candy bar with a $10,000 bill. It's technically money, but it's practically useless in the moment. This is why experienced stackers talk about a balanced ratio. They don't just buy what's shiny, they buy for specific use cases. They keep the gold hidden and deep for the long-term exit strategy we discussed earlier, to move their life savings across borders or through time. But they keep the silver accessible in small denominations for the survival phase, to pay the tolls, buy the food, and navigate the daily friction of a disrupted world. Logic dictates that your survival shouldn't depend on just one metal. It depends on your ability to scale your wealth to the situation. Gold gets you to the finish line, but silver keeps you fed along the way. But there's one more layer to this chess game. Even if you have the perfect mix of gold and silver, there is a hidden trap that could render your entire strategy useless. It's risk that doesn't involve weight, noise, or divisibility. It involves the very system that tells you what your metals are worth. In the next section, we're going to expose the paper trap and why owning gold in a bank might be as dangerous as owning no gold at all. Now, let's talk about the biggest illusion in the financial world. Even if you've decided on your perfect mix of gold and silver, there is a final trap that could render your entire strategy useless. It's called paper gold. Most people today think they own gold because they have an app on their phone or a line item in their brokerage account labeled LGD or SLV. These are exchange-traded funds. They're convenient, they're liquid, and they track the price of the metal perfectly.
But there is a massive catch. You don't own the metal. You own a contract that promises you the value of the metal. This introduces what we call counterparty risk. In a stable world, counterparty risk is invisible. You trust the bank trusts the vault, and the vault trusts the auditor. But in the survival scenarios we've been discussing, the 3 a.m. siren, the currency collapse, the systemic bank holiday, that chain of trust snaps instantly. If the power goes out, if the banking servers are frozen, or if the government declares a financial emergency, that digital gold on your screen is just a collection of dead pixels. You cannot eat a digital certificate, and you certainly cannot use it to pay for a ride out of a danger zone if the ATM is flashing an error message. But the problem goes deeper than just technology. It's about the leverage gap. In the major gold exchanges like COMEX or the LBMA, there is a dirty little secret. There are far more paper claims on gold than there is actual physical gold in the vaults. Some estimates suggest the ratio is as high as 100 to 1. This means for every 1 ounce of real physical gold sitting in a secure warehouse, there are 100 different people holding a piece of paper claiming they own it. As long as everyone is happy with their digital numbers, the system works. But the moment even 2% of those people say, "I want my physical gold now," the music stops. The vault doors stay locked because the gold simply isn't there for everyone. This is the ultimate bank run, and in this scenario, the guy holding the physical 1-ounce coin in his pocket is infinitely wealthier than the millionaire holding a digital contract he can't settle. When we say, if you can't hold it, you don't own it, we aren't just being paranoid. We are acknowledging the reality of systemic failure. Physical gold and silver are the only financial assets that are not someone else's liability. Every other investment, stocks, bonds, bank deposits, relies on someone else's ability or willingness to pay you back. In a crisis, the person you are relying on might be broke, underwater, or legally forbidden from helping you. This is why central banks, the very institutions that print the paper money we use, are currently buying physical gold at record-breaking levels. They aren't buying digital ETFs. They are moving tons of physical bars into their own high-security vaults. They know that when the system shakes, paper promises burn first. So ask yourself, why would you settle for a digital promise when the people running the system are choosing the physical reality? Choosing between gold and silver is a tactical decision, but choosing between physical metal and paper certificates, that is a survival decision. One is a gamble on the permanence of the system. The other is a guarantee that you remain in control no matter what happens to the banks or the internet. So how do we wrap all of this together? How do you build a portfolio that is light enough to carry, stealthy enough to hide, and divisible enough to spend? So, where does this leave us? When the sirens sound and the digital world flickers out, the winner isn't the one with the biggest bank account, it's the one with the most strategic suitcase. We've seen that gold is your ultimate exit strategy. Its incredible value density allows you to carry a lifetime of wealth in a single pocket, invisible to the world. But we've also seen that silver is your daily survival. It is the small change that keeps you fed and moving when the local economy shatters. The ideal survival portfolio isn't 100% of either. For most experts, the magic formula is an 80-20 split. 80% in gold for long-term protection and mobility, and 20% in small denomination silver for immediate utility. This balance ensures you are neither anchored by weight nor paralyzed by a lack of change. Remember, the system we live in is built on promises, but promises can be broken. Currencies can be devalued. Internet grids can be cut. In those moments, the only truth is the weight of the metal in your hand. As the old saying goes, precious metals are the only insurance that pays you. But this strategy only works if you start before the panic begins. Once the 3 a.m. scenario becomes a reality, it's already too late to prepare. Now, I want to hear from you. In your specific situation, how would you divide your stack? Would you go heavy on the mobility of gold, or do you prioritize the spendability of silver? Let's talk about your survival ratio in the comments below. I'll be reading and responding to your strategies. If this deep dive gave you a new perspective on your assets, hit that like button and subscribe. Stay prepared, stay mobile, and most importantly, keep it real.